So everybody should have their book open to page 54. And we're just continuing with the chapter 2, lesson 2 vocabulary, so you don't need to start a new page. You don't need to put a new date or anything like that. We're just added on to the end as if we had done it yesterday. So we're on page 54. And you're just open to chapter 2, lesson 2 vocabulary words. So when I see everybody on page 54, we will continue. Go ahead and put your finger where we stopped. So we're on the role of citizens. 54. Open your vocabulary notebook. And I get to read first. As soon as I see everybody's finger ready to follow along with the role of citizens, your vocabulary notebook can be under your textbook because you don't need it right now and it will just get in the way. When I see everybody's finger ready to follow along on page 54, I will begin. When I see everybody's finger ready to follow along on page 54, I will begin. Books flat on your desks, please. The role of citizens. The Constitution is about both the government and the people. It lists rights and freedoms that Americans have and describes the duties of American citizens. So the Constitution does not just say what the government should look like and what it should do. It also says what we should do as people who live in the country, or what we have or what we can do because we live in the United States. Rights and freedoms. I should still see everybody's finger following along with me. Rights and freedoms. Under the Constitution, decisions are made by majority rule. Each citizen who is at least 18 years old gets one vote. The person or idea that gets the most votes wins. So, this is number, what number is it? 9. Number 9 is the word majority rule. Make sure you're spelling it right. Also, I've noticed a lot of you, when you have words that have like a tail, like this, like J and Y and P and G, they're supposed to go down below the rest of the letters. I've seen quite a few of you writing the word majority like this. All of your letters should not be the same size. Some letters are tall, like a T and an L. Some letters are short, like a J and a Y. Some letters go below, like J and Y. So please make sure you're doing that. If I have to grade you on that, I will. But please make sure that you are doing that. This is not how to write majority rule, because the L and the T should be taller than the rest of the letters. The J and the Y should go down below the rest of the letters. So majority rule means everyone over 18, that means they're 18 or older, gets one vote. Ethan, where's that at your desk? That you should only have one pencil out that you didn't put away earlier. And then you should be writing. That's causing a distraction right now. Everyone over 18 gets one vote. And the person or, oops, there's a comma before and the person or idea that gets the most votes wins. Please make sure that your tall letters are tall, your short letters are short, and your letters with a tail go under the words. That means if you have lined paper, it's really easy with your lined paper because the short words, here's the line. The short words just go halfway up. The tall words go all the way to the top. And the letters with tails go below the line. So make sure that is how you are writing. We have to start doing handwriting all the way back to like print. For some of you, we will. We should be working on cursive, getting to where everybody's working with cursive. But some of you still need to learn how to write print. Okay. So that means majority rule, every citizen who is over 18 in the United States gets one vote and one vote only. Your vote, one person's vote doesn't count more than once. And when they're voting, whatever person or idea gets the most votes wins. That means if the most people over 18 voted for a certain person or a certain idea, that's what's going to win. The right to choose leaders, everybody finger ready to follow along. The right to choose leaders and make decisions by majority rule is an important right of American citizens. And what they mean by that is we get to do this. Some countries do not have this. Remember I said yesterday, some countries, one person gets to decide everything for the whole country and everybody living in it. But we're lucky in that it's all of us as citizens that get to vote, and whoever gets the most votes wins. So we get to decide. Whoever wins or whatever wins may not be your choice, but it was most of the people around you's choice. Okay, Zari, go ahead and read next. We're at the Bill of Rights. Everybody finger ready to follow along.
The Bill of Rights is a part of the Constitution that lists many rights and freedoms that America have.
Not America, but
that Americans have.
So pause for a second. So the Bill of Rights is part of the Constitution. It's extra, it's added in there, but it is part of it, and it says all of the rights that we as Americans have, like this majority rule. We have the right to vote and pick our leaders and some of our laws. Zari, keep going. Make sure your finger is following along, always. Where's your finger? It should be underneath. This, with your hand up above it, is not following along. Your finger needs to be underneath, ready to follow along. Go ahead, Zari.
These include freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of religion.
Pause again. What that means is we can say whatever we want. The news can write about and report on whatever it wants. And people can follow any religion they want. And nobody can say anything to them for that. Now, if that leads to more, well then, yes, they may get in trouble. But nobody can say, no government person can say anything to you based on what you say, as long as you're just saying it. Based on what the news gets to report on whatever they want, and we get to follow whatever religion we want. Keep going.
The Bills of Rights also give Americans the right to penetrate.
No. Think about what T-I-O-N sounds like. There's no A there.
Petition.
There's no A, Zari. I don't know where you're getting the A from. This is the word that you just said. Petition. Well, it's not a word, but that's what you just said. This word looks like this. Is there an A? So do we have any A, short or long A? So it's pet-i-shun. 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 What does that sound like that you know?
Petition.
Petition. Good.
The Bill of Rights also give Americans the right to petition the government.
You're adding too many syllables. It's not petition. That would be P-E-T-I-T-I-T-I-O-N. Petition.
Petition.
Petition. Good. So try again.
The Bill of Rights also give Americans the right to petition the government to change a law. A petition is a signed request. Citizens may sign petitions.
You're adding extra syllables in. It's not petitions.
Petitions to ask for a new law or to change an old one.
That means if people aren't happy with a law, they can get a big group to sign a petition saying, hey, we don't like this law, and they can give it to their lawmakers, and if enough people sign it and enough people agree, then it may be changed. That's what a petition is. It's saying, I don't like this, let's change it. I have all these people that agree with me, so you should change it. Okay? Keep going, Zari. Read to the end.
The Bill of Rights.
Hold on, I don't
also,
see people's fingers. Sorry. I don't see people's fingers following along. On your desk. Go ahead.
The Bill of Rights also provisos.
Not pro videos. There's no O.
Provides protection for Americans who are accused of crime. An accused person has a right to trial.
Trial, not trail. Trail would be T-R-A-I-L.
An accused person has a right to a trial by jury. A group of citizens called a jury decides if the person is obnoxious
What is that
or
word?
not.
What is that word? I-N-O-C-E-N-T. So we're going to look at it. This O is long. So Zari, what is that word?
N
That's long O.
O
And then what word does that look like?
cent.
So N-O cent.
Innocent.
There you go. So what that means is if you are accused of a crime, nobody can say, you did it, go to jail, I don't care what you say. Because you are an American citizen or because that person is an American citizen, they have the right to a trial. That means they can get a lawyer who helps them, who argues for them, in order to try to get a jury, which is just random people. Anybody can be on a jury. Your parents have probably been on a jury. I was on a jury. I never actually got to be on the jury. but I was out because I may have been picked to be on a jury last fall. Anybody can be on a jury. Regular people will be on a jury. And then the lawyers have to argue back and forth so that maybe this person, whether they committed the crime or not, can make the jury think, hey, they did it, or hey, they didn't do it. And then that's how they decide what happens to them. So that means nobody in America can just say, you did it, you're going to jail, you're getting the punishment, I don't care what you say. You do get a trial and a jury of random people that have nothing to do with the case, that they don't know you, they don't know your lawyer, they don't know anybody, they don't know the person who happened to, can decide what they think. Okay, let's look at the next page. Duties of citizen. Everybody finger ready, and Victoria, you will be the one reading. You can ask me later. Wait till everybody's finger is ready to follow along. Go ahead. Loud and slow.
Duties of citizens.
A little louder.
Duties of citizens. Americans have duties that balance the rights. The right to choose leaders is balanced by the duty to vote in elections. The right to trial by jury is balanced by the duty to serve on jury when called.
So, these rights that we get, we don't just get them for nothing. They're not just gifts that we get and we don't have to never pay back or work for. We have to do something in return. You don't get anything free. Is a quote. You have to do something in return. So like we just read, one of our rights is that we get to vote and is that we get to pick our leaders. But the duty is that we have to leave our house and go stand in a line and vote for that person that we want. We can't just say, hey, I want this person. We have to actually do the work to vote in order to choose our leaders. And we don't just get a trial if we're accused of something for nothing. We have a duty to serve on a jury, which means the person who decides if somebody is innocent or not, in order to get that trial, if we needed it. Victoria, go ahead. Keep going.
The government
Louder.
The government trains and pays soldiers to protect the country in times of war. It also helps people rebuild after floods and other natural disasters. In return, citizens have the duty to pay the cost of running the government.
So, that's another right we have. We have soldiers to protect us. We have the military to protect us, whether it's in a war or whether it's right here after a disaster. The National Guard comes in and they help clean up and get everything back to normal. Well, we don't just get that for free. We have to pay for that to happen. We have to pay their salaries. Now, we're not saying, hey, you're my employee, I'm going to pay your salary. This next paragraph tells us where the money to pay for these jobs, because it's not just soldiers. It's also the police, firefighters, public school teachers, public librarians, what else? The mail people, the people that take the mail. Lots of jobs are put on our government jobs, which means our duty, in order to have those things, we don't have to pay for mail. We don't have to pay for books at the library. You don't have to pay to go to public school. You don't have to pay the police to solve a crime for you. You don't have to pay a firefighter to stop a fire at your house. You don't have to pay them. They just come. But in order to get that, you do have to give money to the government so that they can pay. When we read this next paragraph, we'll learn where that money comes from. Smith, go ahead and read that next paragraph. Everybody finger ready. Hold on, Smith, sorry. Everybody finger ready to follow along. I'm waiting for everybody's finger to be ready to follow along. Go ahead.
The Constitution gives the government the right to collect taxes to pay these costs. Most people pay an income tax, which is a part of the money they earn at their jobs.
So that's where the money for all of these things comes from. Now, another thing, it also, you know how like you'll be driving on the interstate and you see people, like construction workers repairing the road? That is also something that the government does, but we have to pay for it. Well, that's where most of it comes from, that income tax. When you get a job and you get a salary, you don't get every single bit of that money. Some of that money comes out every paycheck and goes to the government so they can pay for all of these things. For the soldiers, and the police officers, and the firefighters, and the public school teachers, and the public librarians, and the construction workers that work on the road, and anybody else that works in the government. That's where it comes from. It comes from we don't have to say, hey, I'm giving you this money to pay for the soldiers. It just comes out of our paychecks, and it goes into this massive amount of money, and then the government takes from it to pay its employees. So, right now, what are 2 rights and 2 duties that Americans have? What are 2 of the rights that we get as American citizens, and what are 2 of the duties that we have to do in order to receive those rights? Zari, tell me 1 right and the duty that we have to do to get that right. So first, what's the right? What's the right?
Freedom of speech.
Okay? And what do we have to do to get that right? What's our duty? Does it say? So let's think of something else, because there have been things where it tells us the exact right and what the duty we have to do to keep that right is. Who can tell me one of them? Victoria, tell me one.
Freedom of
Okay, you're doing the same thing Zari did. Does it say you have to do this duty to get that freedom of whatever? I'm asking you, you're not listening to my question. I'm asking you, what is the right and what is the duty that we have to do in order to receive that right? Tell me one. Zadie. What is one of the rights that we have?
the right to have soldiers protect you.
The right to have soldiers to protect us. Well, what is the duty that we have to do in order to get that right? Who can help her out? What do we have to do in order to have that right of the soldiers protecting us? Zadie, did you find it?
The cost of running the government.
So what does that mean?
You have to pay the government.
We have to pay the government in order to have the soldiers protect us. Okay, what's another one? Don't tell me anything that has the same duty. Kingston, what's the right?
The right to a trial by jury.
The right to a trial by jury. The right to have a trial and a jury tell that person whether they are innocent or guilty instead of just one person. But what do we have to do in order to get that right, Kingston?
Serve on a jury when called.
Serve on a jury when we are called. And there's one more. Who can find one more? Victoria? Can somebody help her out? What's one more? What's one more right that we get, but we have to do something in order to get that right? Carla?
The right to choose leaders.
So we have the right to choose our leaders. We have the right to choose who's in charge or what laws happen. But what duty do we have to do in order to get that, Carla? What do we have to do in order to get that right?
The right to a trial by
You're not answering my questions, Carla. My question is, what do we have to do What duty do we have to perform in order for us to get the right to choose our leaders? What duty? What do we have to do? Michaela? We have to get out there and vote. We have to take the time to go vote. Okay, Smith, go ahead and read us the summary of this lesson.
The Constitution tells us how the United States government is organized. It describes the duty of the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. It also describes the rights of citizens.
Very good. Okay, let's see. We still have like 30 minutes before we even need to pack up. Ooh. What I want you to do right now is you're going to get out a sheet of paper and you're going to do numbers 1 through 4 on that review on the separate sheet of paper. I used to have to do these every single lesson when I was in 3rd and 4th grade. Every single lesson, no matter what subject it was. So get out a sheet of paper and you're going to do numbers 1 through 4 on that piece of paper. When you are finished, you can turn it into the social studies and science tray. Write your name, number, and date at the top. And then page 55, or social studies, page 55. So at the top, make sure that the holes are on the left, not the right. Otherwise, I'm going to make you redo it. So at the top should be your name, number, and date. Remember, starting today, if you do not have your name, your number, and the date on every single thing, you will lose 5 points. And then at the top, social studies, page 55, and then you must do 1 through 4 in complete sentences. These answers are in your book. You can find them in your book. You can use what your book says. Make sure you have complete sentences with correct grammar. You do not have to write the question, but you do need to number it. Remember, if you're having trouble writing a complete sentence, incorporate the question. So number 1, how is the United States government organized? You can say the United States government is organized by blah, 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 blah. So answer number 1 through 4 in complete sentences. You do not have to write the question, but you do need to number it. And then skip a line between each number. So 1, answer. Skip 1 line, 2, answer. Skip 1 line, 3, answer. Skip 1 line, and so on. You need complete sentences. You should be able to finish it in 30 minutes. If not, it'll be added to your social studies homework. Okay, you have until 2:30, which is like 34 minutes. You can put your vocabulary notebook away. You need your social studies book, but you can probably put your vocabulary notebook away. Use your social studies book. Don't just try to come up with answers off the top of your head. All of these answers are in this lesson somewhere, and they are only in this lesson. So look back at these 4 or 5 pages, maybe 3 or 4. No, 4 or 5 pages to find the answers. Don't be lazy. Don't try to do this as quickly as possible. Put effort into it. Yes, Victoria.